Hi guys, don't you just love that card? So we're gonna make that card today, and I'm focusing mostly on the Glamper Greeting stamp set. This stamp set is retiring, and it's only available through May 31st or while supplies last. So if you really like this stamp set and it's not part of your collection, you want to get in there and shop and get this stamp set because it is going away. So this stamp set was my first stamp set I purchased through my kit when I became a demonstrator over a year and a half ago. I've used this stamp set a lot. I still love this stamp set. So I thought I would do a video on this stamp set. We're going to use the camper out of here, and we're going to use one of the sentiments in there. I'm also going to use High Tide. I'm going to use the Flying Birds out of High Tide, and I'm also going to use the water stamp. And then I'm also using Waterfront. I'm going to use the Speckle here, and I'm also going to use the palm trees. So what we're going to need for supplies to make this card is you're going to need a piece of Pacific Point cardstock. This one here is measured A2 size, so it's 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then you're going to need a piece of Whisper White. This here is cut at 5 1/4 by 4. You also will need a piece of crumb cake. This one here, you're going to want it to be 5 1/4, and then you're going to want it at least 2.5. This one here actually measures 3. We're going to be doing some alterations to this. You also will need a scrap piece of Whisper White, and that's it for cardstock. The inks we're going to use today is the Memento Tuxedo Black. We're also going to use Pool Party, Soft Suede, Pacific Point. One of the new in colors is Call Me Clover. We're going to use that today. So those are the inks we're going to use today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to do our stamping first. So the first thing we're going to do is take our Whisper White cardstock, and you're going to take 2 sticky notes. They don't have to be sticky all the way, just at the top. And you're going to use these as a mask. And I'm going to go about, it's probably going to be about 1.5 inches down. And I'm just going to line that up on my cardstock. And then you're going to take another one and just make sure it's even and line that up. So it covers the top part of your cardstock. And like I said, probably about 1.5 inches or so. Then this portion of your cardstock, you're going to take the water stamp out of High Tide, and we're going to stamp that with Pacific Point. But when we stamp it, you're going to stamp it off the paper once and then stamp it on your cardstock. So you're going to take your water stamp, and like I said, you're going to ink it up with your Pacific Point. It's going to be really dark. Then you're going to stamp it off once, and then you're going to stamp it on your paper. And you're going to continue to do this to fill up the whole bottom of your cardstock here. Stamp it off, stamp it on. So once you have that stamped, then you're going to take a sponge dauber and you're going to dip it into the Pacific Point. You're going to go off the paper so that it's really, really light. So once it's running really, really light colored, then you're just going to rub it over your water here. And you can kind of leave some white spots because it'll kind of look like the water, like a white cap on your water. So once you have that done, then you're going to go ahead and take off your sticky notes, and you're going to line up your sticky notes on the bottom here so that they're covering your water. And then we're going to take our Soft Sky. And you can use the same sponge dauber. Just make sure you get it as clean as you can. Just rub off most of the ink off of there. And then you're just going to take your Soft Sky, rub that off a bit, and then just kind of apply it on. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your Pacific Point and you're going to pick up a little bit of that ink, rub it off so it's not so dark, and then you're just going to kind of rub some of this in here again for your sky. And then if you want to play around and do some more pool party in there. So we're just going to set this aside. And you're going to take your piece of Whisper White scrap paper and we're going to take the camper out of here and you're going to stamp that. You can add this. I'm not going to, but if you want to add that to your camper, you can. I'm just going to ink that up with the Memento black ink. Then you're just going to color your camper. You can use whatever forms of coloring you'd like. I am going to use the Stampin' Write markers to color this in. And then after we get the camper colored, you're just going to cut it out. Once you have your camper colored and cut out, you're just going to set that aside. Then you're going to bring in your crumb cake piece of cardstock here. And I already started tearing it. You're just going to tear it just like this. And it's about maybe an inch, inch and a half. And then I kind of just pour it at the end so it'll set right on top of here. But before we glue this down, you're going to go ahead and stamp this. We're going to take the speckles out of Waterfront and we're going to stamp it with soft suede all over the front of this. And I had done one earlier, so it's going to look something like this. You're just going to stamp it all over the place. So then you're just going to take your snail adhesive. I already have it on the back here. And you're just going to glue this to the bottom of your card. Just line it up in the corners. Just like that. So it looks like sand. Then your camper's just going to pop up here. So we're going to go ahead and pop that up right now. You're going to use some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I'm going to pop this up over here. Just like that. And then over here is where I stamp the palm trees. So I'm going to take the soft suede again, stamp out the palm tree stems. And I kind of just angled them out partway on the sand and in the water. Then you're going to take the tops and you're going to stamp these out in Call Me Clover. These are the new ink pads and they open very simply. There's a little lip in the front here. You just take your finger, just pop it open, and then these just slide in like that. And then when you go to close this, you just slide this out, close it, and then there's a little, sometimes there's a little click to let you know it's closed. So I'm just going to take my soft suede marker and just kind of shade in this tree a little bit more, just so that it eliminates some of the blue watermarks in there. And the last part of the stamping we're going to do is we're going to take the birds out of High Tide, and you're going to take a sentiment out of the Glamper Greetings. I am going to use This Is How We Roll. And they're both going to be stamped out in Memento ink or your basic black. And then to finish off the card, you're just going to bring in your Pacific Point cardstock, and you're going to use some snail adhesive And we're just going to glue this to the front of your card. Just like that. So that is the card. And the Glamper Greetings is retiring. So you have through May 31st or until supplies last to purchase this. So if you really like this set, I will leave a link to my shop in the video description where you can purchase that. And you also, if your order is less than $150, you would want to use my host code provided, which is in the video and it's in the description. When you use my host code, you will receive a present from me in the mail as a thank you. And every order that is made, I also send out a handmade card as long as you leave your contact information so I can reach out to you. So I hope you guys enjoyed making this card. Thanks for watching.